The opinions expressed in the following programs are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect those of Rogers nor Rogers TV.
This program is brought to you by Ignite TV. Now you're in command. Visit Rogers.com for more details.
Welcome to episode 2 of the Post Office. I'm Mayor Lisa Post, and I'm so excited to be here today for our episode where we get to introduce you to Councillor Tess Prendergast. Welcome, Tess.
Hi, how are you doing?
Good. I'm so glad you're here. I'm so excited to introduce Orangeville and our community to who you are. I know we've got a lot of new residents in the community, and for anybody who doesn't know, can you give me the who is Tess Prendergast in a few minutes?
Sure thing. So my name's Tess, and I moved to Orangeville in 2011. I grew up in Scarborough. My mom is a nurse. She's a nurse manager. She's actually still nursing in an emergency department. My father was an elementary school custodian. So I come from a really strong kind of working class background. I love nature, the outdoors. I'm a beaver leader in town. We just got back from our first sleepover. Didn't get a lot of sleep on that thing.
No kidding.
Yeah. I just love hanging out with my kids. We like to go to the library like most kind of Orangeville families do. You know, we feel connected to nature, and we just love hanging out in Orangeville.
So you missed a really important part of who you are. So what's your full-time job?
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm a teacher. So that's my main gig is teaching. I teach in town at St. Andrews. I am the librarian currently, and I'm also a French teacher. But I've taught everything from grade 8 to grade 6, grade 7, and back again.
That's awesome. So when you moved to Orangeville, you said 2011. Mm-hmm. What made you feel so connected to the community? So moving from Scarborough, that's a big difference to come from a big city to town life. And what did that look like for you?
I had to get my driver's license.
That's a big point, right?
That was the first thing, Lisa, because I didn't drive. So that was a wake-up call.
Interesting.
You know, I relied on the TTC. So I come from a strong background of using public transit.
Love it.
You know, and jumping ahead, maybe that's something Orangeville will work towards, right? And I know we're making waves with the free transit pilot program right now. But another thing was just shopping. You know, so Orangeville a decade ago had even less shopping options, and you had to go out of town, which was different. There are a lot of trade-offs for the convenience, though, right? Like,
absolutely.
I'm really happy to be close to nature, and if that means I can't get to a mall in 5 minutes, so be it.
So be it.
You know, so just little things like that, convenience issues, those differences, and but I was really happy to move and start my family here.
So what made you feel really connected? Like, I know that's a big change to move, and you're moving away from your family and your friends and into Orangeville, a smaller community. And I know Orangeville can be a pretty tight-knit community. A lot of us have been around a long time, like me. I was born here. So, you know, we stick around for quite a while. So how was it being from the city, that kind of the new person here? What made you feel really connected?
I think, you know, it was my colleagues at work, to be honest. And yes, you do feel like an outsider for a long time. Just because people know each other, and
that's
everyone,
right.
It might be someone's cousin. You find out when you've been in Orangeville long enough. And so just, you know, a lot of people have a shared history that you're just not really part of.
Right.
But as Orangeville's growing, I'm finding that happens less. But it was just through joining clubs like the Headwaters Racket Club. We made a lot of friends initially playing tennis. And I still talk to those people to this day. Other things, like I said, like work, my husband's workplace, they made a really great effort to take us around town, all the nice areas, show us restaurants, and just really explain what Orangeville's about. And we sorry.
No, go ahead. No, keep going.
Yeah, and we're big as history buffs, so we took time just to brush up on Orangeville history. So
we've got a good one.
I felt like I just knew a lot about the town before I moved here.
That's awesome. And you mentioned joining clubs and joining, you know, I know you're also a volunteer, so I'm sure you met a lot of parents and families through Beavers and through the other things that you volunteer with. So what are some of the other kind of organizations that you work alongside of, and what have you been doing?
Yeah, so you know, I've been really busy having children.
That definitely happens. That consumes some time.
So, you know, when I moved here, I was 26, kind of just starting out, and just a brand new teacher. That consumed all of my time.
I
bet.
Just
preparing lessons, I think I spent like 5 hours in the evening getting all my ducks in a row. But now after doing it for a while, you know, that busyness in the evening kind of scales back a bit. But after having kids, I took the role in Beavers and Scouts Canada. I was in Scouts when I was in high school. We went camping once a month, and it really, for someone who lived in Scarborough, that was my connection to nature.
Right.
You know, and my way to kind of get outside. And to be honest, that's where I felt at peace. I was the happiest, and I knew I wanted to live closer to nature. So the move to Orangeville made a lot of sense in that regard.
That's awesome. And then what was your driving force? So now you're connected to the community. You've been here 10 years or so. What made you think, you know what, I think I'm the right person to run for council? What led you to that?
You know, I'm just, I've always paid attention to politics and policy and the unintended consequences of policy on the lives of everyday people. And just knowing that decisions that are made by a small few really impact everyone. And municipal politics is the closest you are to government. So, for example, you know, someone can send me an email. Maybe I can send another email follow up, and that change might happen within a week. And it's really impressive to see that happen. There has to be a will, and I think we're the people to try to find solutions to some issues. So
absolutely,
it feels rewarding too.
That's great. And I know you ran originally in the provincial election. So how did that experience running the provincial election differ from what you heard at Doors, even, or the experience of running municipally?
Well, I think you know, provincially, we have parties, and a lot of people are entrenched with their beliefs for certain political parties. There are a lot of external factors there, right? So you have the party leader, what the national party's doing, what the party may have done in the 1990s.
Yeah, no kidding.
So I'm just going to pause for water. But, you know, there's a lot that has to do with someone's, I guess, decision to place their vote, right? You really have to earn it there, but it's not just the candidate in the local area. But with the municipal election at the door, the reception was different, you know, and I could really speak to the issues in town. And I felt like I really represented a group that had not been represented recently on council. Save yourself, Lisa. But, you know, just to add another voice for young families in town.
Absolutely.
And someone who really knows the value of education, connections with the community and our library, and the value of those programs. And just, you know, different little ways to make things better that don't cost a lot of money, but just might make more sense.
Right. So what were some of the biggest issues that you heard at Doors when you were knocking through, and we all knocked on a lot of doors. So what were some of the things that you heard? Like, what were the big chunks, the big themes?
You know, people driving too fast, you know, down roads like Zina and Elizabeth.
Yep.
Just, you know, we all live in this town, and we're all drivers. We have our children here. There's no reason why we need to treat them like speedways, right? But yeah, so just solutions to that, or just to do something about the speed in which people travel on town roads. Other things at the door, barking dogs in neighborhood backyards that were pretty disruptive, especially during COVID, I take it, you know, because we're fresh off of COVID times.
Yep.
Other issues, just taxes, you know, that always comes up at the door. Taxes in Orangeville.
And it's a touchy subject right now too, because we're in such a different affordability place with high interest rates, with global inflation, with, you know, everything, the cost of everything is rising, and families are struggling. It's been tough. So I know this time around for me, I heard a lot more about taxes and affordability and that kind of stuff. So I can imagine that was a lot of your conversations as well.
A lot of that, but people are happy with Orangeville, you know? So also at the door, it wasn't kind of a moment for people to vent. It was a chance for them to get to meet me and chat about priorities like the environment, just kind of keeping Orangeville like a quaint, lovely town, but that is also inclusive and welcoming to everyone. So that was kind of the messaging at the doors, and people were receptive to that. I think.
Well, obviously, here you are. So, and that's exactly it. I mean, it's a testament to what you've spoken about. It's a testament to what you stand for, is why you're sitting here today. And, you know, already we're a short time in, but I can see the positive differences that you're looking to make in our community. And you're fitting right in. You're doing a great job. You really are. So first few council meetings, you know, we're dealing with budget. We're jumping right into it. What's been the biggest learning curve for you so far? And I know there's many, because I was just there myself not that long ago.
Well, so far, at first was, when do I speak? When is the right time to say something?
Yep.
You know, coming from a teaching background, I don't have a lot of experience with board meetings.
Right.
So that was a big learning curve at first. And just getting used to the new software, you know, all those things when you start a new job.
Yes.
Just trying to figure out, where to go and who to talk to and where to be.
Who's your phone a friend? Who do you send the email to?
Exactly. I've asked that a lot of times. Like, who would I ask about this? And then I might ask that same question like 2 days later. And staying on top of just all the emails and,
that was actually my next question is now, adding a second part-time job on, and I know how many hours it is to be a counselor. It's not a light part-time job. It can be pretty heavy. How do you find the balance with your family and your full-time job as a teacher and counsel? Have you been finding the groove?
Yeah, we've been getting into the swing of things. So I wake up pretty early, and I try to exercise every day. I use the treadmill. I might watch Netflix, but now instead of Netflix, I'm reading an agenda, and doing different kinds of research. And that's kind of how I fit it into my day.
That's great.
And, in the evenings, it's easy once the kids go to sleep to do a couple of things. But you don't want to forego your quality time with your spouse either. That's very important. Yeah. So you're just balancing those, right? And my husband's I wouldn't say helpful. He's just a very active parent, and so we kind of spell each other off. We don't have family in town. It's just me and him. So once someone said to me, "Don't you have a nanny?" I was like, "No, I don't have a nanny."
Well, and having done this for a few years now, I can say having a supportive spouse or a supportive partner is one of the most important pieces because it's how you find the groove and it's how you make it balance.
Yeah, and too, Lisa, I'm just always thinking about politics. And just like I was saying, policy, it's my pastime.
Yeah.
I devour that information. So it's just always on my mind. And if I try to distract myself with a fiction novel, it doesn't work. Like I'm still back to square one, thinking about how we can better society. So it just, it's a natural fit for me.
So we got 4 years ahead of us. We've got lots to do. We've just come off the budget, and I know that's always an interesting learning curve. So how did you find the budget process overall?
At first, overwhelming, if I'm being honest. Just because there's, a lot of new things to look at. Yeah. And but the way it was written, it was very pared down and easy to understand. So I found that good. I really appreciated that. It was easy to read, and I welcome any resident to go and check that out because it's good to see where your tax dollars go, right? And there were a lot of really good infographics and simple to read. I've actually used it as an example to show some students.
Oh, good.
When talking about municipal governance. So,
That's
it's nice. If a grade 5, 6 student can understand it, it's perfect for a counselor.
For everybody. That's
First-time counselor. But the process was interesting. You got to learn a lot about the town and what our priorities are, and that there's a lot to balance, right? We want to make sure we maintain the capacity for the future, keep our level of service up, but at the same time, make sure we're investing in the infrastructure we need to, keep cars on the road. So.
Absolutely. And, the first budget of a council term is always challenging because it is, you've got new group, you're trying to figure it out. You've come off of a lame duck period where normally the budget process, we'd start getting introduced to it a little earlier, but because you're not sworn in until November, all of a sudden they're like, welcome to council, here's your giant budget, right? So it does get easier along the way, but you also joined in a really tough time. Like we've already talked about, inflation is high and we already had significant budget pressures and all of our capital projects are costing way more than they ever did before. So you joined in an interesting year, so hopefully going forward the budgets will even be a little easier to manage. And
it's good to know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Everything this year will just be like my baseline, right? So
that's right.
It'll get better.
So you've recently brought your first notice of motion to council and it was just recently passed with unanimous support from council. So do you want to talk about that a little bit? I know that was an important initiative.
A lot of jurisdictions around us, other municipalities, most recently Caledon, have implemented a program to offer free menstrual products at town facilities and washrooms. What this does is it ends to seek equity for menstruating persons, and I kind of see it as providing tampons and pads as you would toilet paper. It's a hygienic necessity that should be offered in public places. And by doing this, we're helping menstruating persons be able to, in a lot of cases, go to school because the cost of these things can be $20 a box.
Yeah.
And if you're thinking about if I'm buying food for my family or something to deal with menstruation issues, then you're probably going to buy the food. And in some cases, teenagers, they don't go to school because they don't have the money for these products. Right. So it's important that we're doing what we can to alleviate or remedy period poverty in our town.
It's so great to see such a great social initiative coming forward. I'm really excited to reading the staff report that'll come back probably pretty soon, where we can start to understand what the cost of implementation will be. But what a great initiative, and thank you for bringing it forward. And such a cool one to have as your first one too. So great to see unanimous support for it. So what's next? You've got, like I said, we got 4 years ahead of us. What's the next priorities? What are important to you to try and accomplish over the next 4 years?
On my radar right now is trees.
Nice.
Recently we had a request for rezoning and a severance of land on a heritage property, right? And on these heritage properties, we give the designation to the homes, but not the trees that are on the properties. And often these properties should be, I think, but I'm not a provincial policymaker, we should be protecting the trees also, because they are a true testament to our culture and heritage. The fall colors in Orangeville are spectacular, and one would say that draws people to our town. So I think we should be considering the age of those trees, and that goes to my point, is the tree canopy. Right, a lot of these old century maples contribute greatly to our tree canopy, and if we're trying to keep that at 40%, that can be devastating. So we're looking at a tree policy. I've been in contact with town staff and just looking at what we can do in terms of tree bylaws in the future. So that's one thing that I'm really interested in. Next is tree planting. Hopefully we get something swinging for Earth Day around that
Coming
time.
Up soon, Yeah.
Before we know it, it's going to be spring.
Yeah.
So looking to the horizon for that. And also just plastics, seeing what we can do in town to ban single-use plastics. So that's something that I've been thinking about. Recently, the national government has made a pledge to end the use of single-use plastics.
Yeah.
So those are things that maybe as a municipality we can support those initiatives at other levels of government.
And you're the new chair of Sustainable Orangeville. Congratulations on that appointment. I think you're going to fill the shoes of Councillor Peters very well. I know he led the charge for a while there and was a significant contribution, but I'm so excited to see what you bring to that group. And are you getting excited about committee starting?
Yeah, I really am. I want to see what we can do with Sustainable Orangeville, and I think we put together a good team with a lot of diverse experience and background. And, my background in education, I'm used to kind of synthesizing information, and that's what I hope to do. Take all these wonderful ideas from people in those industries, those environmental industries, and see what we can implement municipally at a low to no cost situation. Or if there is a cost, it's going to have a long-term payoff, because protecting the environment is in everyone's best interest.
Absolutely. And now for your other committee, you're on the library board, so that'll be kicking off soon. And as a librarian, you must be excited about that.
Very excited. Probably too excited. Hold on, I'm just gonna have a quick sip.
Yeah.
But when I first moved to Orangeville, that was my dream. Like, my political ambition was to be on the library board.
That's awesome. I love that.
So I feel like I've really, I've done it. So I feel proud of myself in that
That's
way.
it.
I feel like I have a lot to offer the library board. I use the library weekly, sometimes twice a week, and I feel at home there. I always have felt at home at libraries. They're welcoming places with no expectation on your time or your wallet. And nowadays we're talking about cost of living. You need places to go that are free.
Yeah.
And the programming that we offer at our library is exemplary. No other library has programming like Orangeville.
Well, like that new French learning program.
Yeah, Tour du Monde Français.
Yeah. Is fantastic. It's so great that we're, recognizing some of the cultural changes and demographic changes in Orangeville and offering some library program in other languages. And I know they're looking at diversifying, having come off the library board after 4 years. I know they're looking at diversifying some of the collection that we've got and offering some books in other languages and really starting to find ways to be a bit more equitable and to offer a more diverse collection. So I think you're joining it at such a cool time.
And it's interesting you say that, but I would go to the public library to get inspiration for what I should use to fill the shelves of my school library.
I love that.
Just the librarians are doing a fantastic job in terms of really fulfilling the equity quota, and also, books that kids love to read. There is a huge selection at Mill Street, and just when you walk through the doors, you feel like you've been transported somewhere fantastic. You get the sense that you're in a grand place. And I just know that once residents start to use the libraries more, they won't stop. And I think the library really has something for everybody.
I agree. And, again, having just come off the library board, we were always trying to find a way to make people understand that the libraries were more than just books. So you've seen that change, I'm sure, in the schools. So talk a little bit about what that looks like. How have the libraries changed at a school level, and, how do you think they can change a bit more at a municipal level as well? For
sure. So even libraries, when I was taking some library education classes, we call them learning commons now. So it's more than just books, which should be learning commons more than just books. But so there's a huge shift to technology, right? The reality is we all have smartphones. We don't need to rely on books or encyclopedias to get basic knowledge on subjects anymore. So librarians and libraries had to shift with that. Now we're focusing really on the creative side of things and creating maker spaces. And I know the Orangeville Library is undertaking a project to create a maker space at Alder, which is fantastic. So there are going to be things like 3D printers. You're going to have a Lego table to use, maybe Play-Doh and sand, robotics, coding robots, tiny cubes that you can turn into robots that might make sound. We have some of these things at school, but I know the Orangeville Library is going to be like a step up. And I've never seen a 3D printer before in real life, so really? I can't wait.
Oh, so good.
But I know, that's kind of the next level, right? And having Alder adjacent to Westside, there's potential for collaboration with high school students. And, the hope is that high school students find the library cool, That's right. I feel like if you market it to teens, maybe they won't come, but you just have to make it appealing enough that they'll come. But, it should be a really cool meeting spot. I was reading about having a third place, to go. So I see the library as that a third place. You have work, you have home. For strong communities, you need that third location.
Oh, I love that.
And I don't see why our community centers or libraries can't be that third spot where you can gather as a community. In the past, it would be, let's say, a church or a market. But that's how I see maybe our town bus.
Absolutely.
Or just having community gathering spaces that have no expectation again on your wallet. Yeah.
Well, and I think what's really neat is that when you've got spaces that like maker spaces, that gives a place for the non-sports kids to go. And that's always been a challenge, and I think we're going to find it even more of a challenge with some of the financial pressures we're looking at right now, that ballet classes and dance classes and art classes can be prohibitive from a cost perspective. So being able to embrace a kid's creativity and natural talents in a place like a maker space is a really great thing. So have you noticed that with kids?
Yeah, even just with my own children and experience, the cost of extracurriculars or extra things, unfortunately, that might be one of the first things that gets cut, right? And it is happening more often. Children might be able, and just speaking with my parent friends, like instead of 2 or 3 activities per term or per, let's say fall or winter, you get to pick one. Right. So you're maybe 1 day a week now you're in an activity instead of 3 or 4 days a week. And we are seeing that, at the school. I would say that children, just kind of switch gears. They're really into the extracurriculars that we're offering, especially coming off of COVID, and the more that we can do as a community to offer programming after school, like at the library, and it's free and it's fantastic. But more things like that, if the town can look at programs, after school programs for kids. Those are also things that I'm thinking about. I just don't really have a solution yet, but they're on my mind, what can we do for children in that mid-age age range, like 8 to 12.
It's a tough age to find those activities for us. They're just kind of, they're coming out of kids and starting to be teens, and they're in that awkward in-between stage that they're trying to find themselves a little bit.
Exactly, and they need friends and a little bit of guidance, but also independence. So, if anyone has any suggestions out there on programs that have been successful where you've been before, let us know, because this is based on feedback, right?
Absolutely.
Working on council is just having conversations with people, seeing what might work, what might not work. Just actually recently, someone sent me an email about change tables at Tony Rose, and it was, could we have a couple more change tables while we're awaiting Alder to reopen?
Right.
And just make it a little bit easier for the toddlers and ones who have wee ones coming for lessons. Sent an email, and they were able to, they're going to be installing 2 new change tables.
That's great.
At Tony Rose, just for the interim. And that was easy. So again, if there's anything that comes up that we can do to just make your experience a little bit better, we're all taxpayers. So please, your voice matters, so reach out.
Absolutely. We're definitely all taxpayers, and we're also solution finders. And I find that, being on council now for a few years and getting into the groove, I always say that's my job is connecting people with other people, because I'm not the one who can find or that can get the answer, but I'm the one who can help you get there. So if I can connect a resident with the right department to make sure that their concerns are being heard by the right people, it has a chance of getting a solution. We're one step closer to a solution. And as a community, that's how we continue to grow and be better, is to continue to find great solutions. And we can only do that by hearing the voices of our residents. So
that's right.
We're going to have some cool stuff starting with some town halls, and all the councillors are going to be involved in those. And we really do want to hear from the residents and try and find solutions. It was one of the things I think all of us heard through the election process, is that people feel a bit disconnected from their local government, and they don't know necessarily how to get those answers, and they don't know that their voice is being heard. So we need to collectively do a better job of that. So I'm looking forward to some of those big changes coming.
Yeah, 100%. Just you can make a difference. I tell the kids at school that all the time, but one person can make a difference.
Absolutely.
We've seen it all throughout history, and you just need to speak up, say something, and just take a chance. Like Wayne Gretzky, you miss 100% of the chances
right.
you don't take. I see that every day walking down a hallway at my school.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, it's in the staircase right on the top of the stairs. But it's inspirational. That growth mindset. We're trying to instill that with the children at school. You always kind of try to see the positive to it, and know that it can get better, and there are solutions. And I think that when we think about the environment or affordability, there are ways that we can make things better. And I think municipally we can do what we can to make lives more affordable, or make your days easier, I guess, so to speak. But yeah. Sorry.
So give me one more thing. One more thing you're looking forward to on council over the next couple of years, that you're looking forward to talking about or trying to find a solution to, just before we wrap up.
Sure. When I was running, I heard a lot from seniors about equitable programming at the recreation facilities. And I've spoken with a couple of seniors about that, and just getting maybe fitness instructors geared towards seniors classes, and just making sure that we have inclusive, equitable access to the ice and the facilities that the town owns. For groups like our friends in the Special Olympics and those athletes, getting ice time or swimming time, it's important to me to make sure that we have equitable time for the youth in hockey, but also public skating. Most recently, I've actually heard that we could do with more public skating. And I did see a lot of young people out there, teenage age, that we're trying to find programming for. So just beefing up the recreation without it costing more. Just taking a look.
And we're definitely going to have some conversations about that as we start to re-envision what Tony Rose is going to look like. And Alder plays a big part in how that Tony Rose is going to come together. So there's definitely going to be a lot of really great conversations ahead. I'm so pleased that you're on council sitting with us. I think we've got such a great team. And I'll give you kind of the last 10 seconds to give a little closing message if you'd like.
All right, Orangeville, thank you for having me and and electing me onto council. I'm delighted, and I look forward to serving you. And please, if you have any questions or concerns, reach out, and I'd love to help you.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being a part of today's show, Tess. I'm looking forward to our upcoming council meetings. And to Orangeville, thank you for joining into the post office. I look forward to seeing you on our next shows.
call the Rogers TV viewer response line. Email us or connect with us on social media.
Are you the type who would keep going or stop? It's not easy to stop when you have an addiction. Legalizing cannabis won't stop addiction. It trivializes its consumption. Let's be vigilant. If you need help, visit portage.ca.
Now you can enjoy Disney Plus on Ignite TV. Just say Disney Plus into your Ignite TV voice remote and stream Disney Plus movies and